I will start from where actually we stopped in the morning session. This is that the material superconductor shows the diamagnetism, and it is also the Meissner effect. This diamagnetism is observed first by the Meissner, and it turned as the Meissner effect. And this diamagnetism is quite strong as compared to the usual diamagnetic materials. In usual diamagnetic materials, the diamagnetism is the weakest among all this magnetism we usually observe. That is para, ferro, ferri. The diamagnetism is the weakest magnetism. So you require a special effort to measure this diamagnetism. But in this case, it is so strong that you can feel a diamagnetic behavior even if you put a magnet, permanent magnet, on the top of a superconductor. Then this magnet will, the repulsion is so much that this magnet can float in the air above these superconductors. Not only that, if you give a slight motion to this magnet within this superconducting region, then it will go on rotating up for a very long time, because it is not getting any resistance except this air. No frictional force except this air what is getting. Based on this principle, many applications of superconductivity have been developed. We'll come later, but you must remember the diamagnetism in superconductor is very large, and people exploit these properties for various applications. This diamagnetism or the repulsion of magnetic field, external magnetic field, is due to a current which is generating at the surface of the superconductors. So in a weak applied field, why weak applied field, a superconductor expels nearly all magnetic flux. I am putting is the weak applied magnetic field, not a very strong magnetic field, because slowly we will find that if we apply a very strong magnetic field, there will be a reverse effect can take place. So in a weak applied magnetic field, a superconductor expels nearly all magnetic flux. It does this by setting up an electric current near the surface. This magnetic field of the surface current cancels the applied magnetic field within the bulk of the superconductor. And if we now withdraw this applied magnetic field, the current which has set up to oppose the expel the external magnetic field will be within the superconducting material, because here the conductivity is infinite. So there is no way that the current can decay within this magnet, within this superconductor. That's why this current is known as persistent current. So we can think of this that the conductivity of a superconductor is infinite, and due to that the current persistent current generated in a superconductor. Experimental evidence are made that the lifetime of this current is at least 100,000 years. You can understand how this was calculated. It was calculated by a extrapolation. Suppose there is a small decay of this current at 50 years. Now, if this 50 year is the decay, to remove all this current, how much year can be, we can extrapolate from that experimental result. And theoretically speaking, it is endless. So this persistent current, schematically we are representing this persistent current here. We have applied a magnetic field. HA is the applied magnetic field. And due to applied magnetic field, a current is set up within a toroid, or we can say the ring. And this current is set up by the movement of the electrons on the surface of the electrons. Now, if we withdraw this applied magnetic field, then this electrons will flow without any dissipation till this material is in superconducting state. Or in other words, we can say it will also create a magnetic field because of the flow of current through a circular ring. So it will also create a magnetic field due to the passage of this current within the ring. This behavior was applied for development of superconducting magnets. You see, the interesting thing is that here you don't need to pass the current continuously. You set the current, get the required magnetic field, and then withdraw your get the required current so that you can have this magnetic field. Then withdraw your current, withdraw your external magnetic field, or withdraw the current. This so what happens then? You can save a lot of energy, and you can get a magnetic field without applying a continuous energy to the system. Suppose this is your a solenoid, and you are giving a current through this. As soon as you send the current, as soon as you send the current and you got this required magnetic field, you can switch off this power supply. Now this current will go on within the wire, and you can get a magnetic field. This is the principle by which a superconducting magnet works. So you set up the your required magnetic field and then switch off the current. This current, what we are talking, we are always talking about that this current is set at the surface of the superconductors. But frankly speaking, although we are talking about the surface of the superconductor, it extends within the superconductor a certain depth. So near the surface, within the distance, the magnetic field is not completely cancelled. Each superconducting material has its own characteristic. So this one, there will be a decay of the magnetic field, which is going inside the superconducting material. This depth is called how much depth this supercurrent is forming. This is called the penetration depth, and this was measured by London, and that's why it's called London penetration depth. In the pure superconducting state, the only field allowed is exponentially damped as we go on from the external surface to the end state. So after certain depth, you will not find any magnetic field. So if we consider a semi-infinite superconductor occupying a space in the positive side, this is along x direction, and B0 is the field at the surface, then this depth of penetration can be represented by the formula Bx. X is the distance, at what distance we are going, B0 exponential minus x by lambda L. Lambda L is the depth of penetration of the field, and it is known as the London penetration depth. And basically, it is defined as the distance in which the field decreases by a factor of e to the power minus 1. So, where this decrease is taking place up to e to the power minus 1, then it is called the London penetration depth, and it is basically is 500 angstrom in a pure superconductors. This is a good information that when we are taking the surface magnetization, but it is not the surface, it extends to a depth which is called the London penetration depth. It is almost similar. You can create an equivalence to it as the eddy current depth in a good conductors. Okay. Now this entire superconducting materials, as we told that that huge amount of work has been carried out on the superconducting materials, starting from 1911 to till date. There are various superconducting materials have been developed. Initial work was mainly with the elements or the pure metal, but subsequently work has been carried out on different alloy systems, not only alloy systems, different types of other materials. You can see how the total spectrum of the superconducting superconductors till 2015. These are a series which usually go through the metallurgical processes, that is melting, casting, or through the powder metallurgy route. There is another area which is going a ceramics type of materials, that is, or we can say cuprate, CuO, all you can find at the end is the CuO. So lanthanum cuprate, yttrium, barium cuprate, bismuth, strontium, calcium cuprate. So a series of material, but these are all the ceramics material. These are all metallic materials. There is another thing that if you consider the iron, nickel, cobalt, these are called ferromagnetic materials, and this material has a tendency to concentrate the applied magnetic field, outside magnetic field. And we found that in superconductor, the tendency to expel the magnetic field. So these are really a contradictory. Initial work showed that a small percentage of ferromagnetic element drastically reduce the transition temperature. But subsequently, you can see that a series of iron-based materials is also developed as the superconductors. So there is a different ranges of materials. People are trying to get the material so that we can come to a material which is close to the room temperatures. Initial work was close to liquid helium, then it has come to close to hydrogen, liquid hydrogen, then a series of materials which is close to liquid nitrogen. Now our goal is to go how we can raise the transition temperature to come to the uh, room temperature. This entire gamut of superconductors can be divided into two categories. What are these categories? One is called the type 1 superconductor, or we can say is a soft superconductors. And another one is the type 2 superconductors, or we can call it is a hard superconductors. By the name soft superconductor, you can understand by application of small field it goes to its saturation level. By the term hard superconductor, you can understand it requires a lot of external field to come to the saturation. Saturation state, I am telling, away from the superconducting state. Or here, soft superconductor is the superconductor where by the application of small field, we can go from the superconducting state to the normal state. Here, we require a high magnetic field to come from the superconducting state to normal state. So you can understand by this although this type 1 superconductor is a pure material, it is for any theoretical studies, this is the best materials to study. But for application, where we require a high field, we have to go for the type 2 superconductors, that is hard superconductors. From application point of view, we require the type 2 or hard superconductors. And that is the reason why the application of superconductivity started on these 60s, 1960s. It started, although it was discovered at 1911, because initial work is mostly to understand the subject, and work was mostly on the pure materials. Now, what is the type 1 superconductor? The superconductor that exhibit the magnetization curve, this exhibit the magnetization of this type. You see, this is the minus 4 pi m. So, if we apply a magnetic field, the magnetization increases and it drops down from a critical value. It suddenly drops from the critical value, which is called at the critical field, HC. So don't confuse it with the coercivity in the magnetism. This is just like TC, this is a HC. So HC is the field for type 1 superconductor where which is the maximum field we can apply to the superconductor to remain in the superconducting state. Above Hc, the material is normal state, that is not a superconductor. So the negative increases linearly with the field up to a critical field Hc and then abruptly to zero as the superconducting state is destroyed and the sample become a normal conductor. Most elemental superconductor and few alloys show type 1 behavior. There is a rule that it says that maximum current, you see, this is the field I am applying the applied magnetic field, Aj. Now, since we put a rule, whenever I am giving a applied field, there will be a persistent current will be generated. So it says that the maximum current that can be carried in a superconductor is the current that produces the critical field at the surface. So you understand this Hc is relatively smaller. So as per the Silsby rule, the surface current should not be more than the Hc. Surface current, so whenever a current goes, it also generates a magnetic field. So the surface current will generate that much of current, the surface in a superconductor surface, that much of current will generate, which will go up to Hc. It cannot generate current which is more than Hc. If we go more than Hc, it goes to a normal state. And that is why the application of the type 1 superconductor is limited. As I told that the application, one of the application of the superconductor is the producing the magnetic field with the persistent current. Now, with the persistent current, we can go to a field which is up to Hc. This is the goes of the order of millitesla. And this field is also dependent on the temperature. And this temperature dependent is Hc is equal to Hc0 1 minus T by Tc. So Hc is a temperature dependent, and that is also an important observation. What is important of observation? This is that temperature dependence of some of the superconductors, and you can see that at Hc, if we apply a field with a minimum amount of field, it will destroy. But if we are here, or at this point 1 into 10 to the power minus Tesla, here you can see that if we apply a magnetic field, then I can be still, if I am at this temperature, although this is the Tc, if I am at this temperature, I can send up the order of 10 to the power minus 2 Tesla magnetic current, so that 10 to the power minus 2 Tesla magnetic field will be generated.